Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a little intimidating standing up here speaking for the entire 3D industry. I've been with the 3D at Home Consortium for about 2.5 years and have thoroughly enjoyed my time with the consortium and directing a lot of these programs, especially from the perspective of getting everybody on the same page and understand kind of what direction we need to go in. And I think today's activity with the AOA has been a real clear need of the industry. I'll explain that a little farther as we go. So my presentation today is in two parts. Part one is really trying to define what we mean by the 3D industry. Part two will be more about that, the public health needs, and how the industry is directing them. So a little bit about the industry. So the 3D market has been developing for several years. Obviously with a much longer history, but since with this version of 3D in the digital area. So starting with the production, this is very much focused on the entertainment aspects of 3D rather than the education or any of the other aspects, but it can all be applied to the same thing. So it's much bigger than one company, it's bigger than one industry, it's bigger than one segment of the industry. We start with production. We look at 3D, the movie creators. We've got the education, the software creators. We've got the programmers who are developing the TV programs. We've got post-production companies. We've got 2D, 3D conversion companies. And we have the authoring industry. We've got distribution. We look at satellite and cable. We have broadcasters, download, video on demand, and streaming. All of these many organizations looking at how 3D impacts them. We have the consumer products, starting with the game boxes, moving on to all displays, large and small. Audio, video boxes, including all of your cable boxes. Glasses, of course, and many other consumer products that fit into that category. We look at how 3D is being sold, retail and online. And of course, there's a very large ecosystem of what I'm calling other facilitators, of organizations like ours, organizations that install 3D into home theaters, the academic community, and of course the industry analyst, third-party validators that any company needs in order to make sure that their product is filling a need. So as we look at the development of the 3D market, it's all of these companies taking steps to understand, get products on the market. They move into being readily available. They move into being interoperable. The industry realizes that none of these things are they going to be able to do by themselves. They need to work with other companies and other segments of the industry. In the meantime, all of these organizations are adapting to the 3D world. Got different generations of products. We start with market confusion. We move into cooperation and standards. And of course, the holy grail of being always comfortable and having always comfortable equipment in your hands, in your living room. A quick look at the corporate involvement. I've put up maybe, some would say this is 20% of the companies that are involved and looking at the 3D, how 3D impacts their business from a strategic standpoint. Many of these happen to be 3D at home members, of course. An important piece of this is the other facilitators in this industry. These are liaisons and other relationships that the 3D at Home Consortium has built over the years. And they're all playing in the 3D industry in one way or another. We have ETC, the Entertainment Technology Center at the University of Southern California. The Digital Entertainment Group, all looking from the Hollywood perspective and understanding how 3D is being adopted in the Hollywood and the entertainment level. We have SEMTI, a very important piece of this in the standards and the education of 3D to both the production and the distribution communities. The ATSC, of course, looking at terrestrial signals in 3D. DVB, a European organization that looks at distribution signaling and standards, very involved right now in getting 3D standards for the home environment. The cable and telecommunications engineers are very interested in what they need to do to ensure that compression, decompression, transmission techniques preserve the 3D signal. So all of these organizations understand the importance of putting through a nice, clear signal and what that means to the 3D comfortable experience. The 7th framework in the European Union has quite a few, has over 100 million pounds invested in 3D research in one way or another, human factors research, or whether it's transmission and distribution standards. The CEA has a big role in the consumer electronics devices and how those products are interoperable and the standards that are needed to be set in order to make them interoperable. HDMI, of course, is a high definition interface standards. SID is looking at how to measure displays so that you know if your resolution on one screen is going to be, if a company that's selling you a television says it's high resolution, it is going to be high resolution. And what high resolution actually means, that's a very simplistic definition. 3D FIA, C3D, and 3D Consortium are 3 international organizations that the 3D at Home Consortium works with. All very much on the human factors side. These organizations have a lot of government funding behind them as well to ensure that 3D is successfully rolled out and implemented in those countries. CEDIA is in the Installers Association, so all the home theaters, there's certain standards that they meet, and they want to know about 3D and what's the best way, what's the best equipment to put into homes. Obviously, the AOA, we know a lot about, and we're happy to be partnering with you. The Video Quality Experts Group, another group that's very involved in understanding how the human factors of 3D. So we've got all these other facilitators in making sure that 3D is a comfortable experience for the home. So now, just a quick look at maybe in that technology development, how each of these sectors is really behaving and coming along in their 3D work. Production, distribution, consumer products, sales, other facilitators. We're not there yet, and we know it, and the human factors is a big piece of it. One of the reasons why 3D at Home has been continuing to move forward and really pushing on this human factors side is to make sure that we understand the implications. So all of these segments have a stake in giving the viewer a comfortable 3D viewing experience. Now I want to move on to the second part of my presentation, a little bit about what the industry is doing. So we're spending millions on ongoing research on the human experience and how that impacts the public health. Many internal and external studies, and it's statistically relevant information. However, there's always more. There's always more. Here are 3 well-established, very scientific studies on 3D viewing habits, how consumers are, how they're ranking their 3D experience. Probably there's 12 others I could put up there as well. Lots of research going into this. Many of our companies, many of our member companies have their internal studies as well, and I think, Phil, you gave some indication as well as Jim on what Intel is doing. But almost every single company that we work with has their own studies and funding their own studies as well. The common call is to get more factual information into the public domain and into the consumer hands. So 3D at Home has put together several websites that help to support this. We have one for the members and professionals, one for other professional constituencies, and one for consumers. Just putting information in the right hands at the right time. So let me give you a look at our 3 different portals. We have our membership. This is our behind-the-scenes membership intranet where there's conversations constantly going on, information about the industry being shared. Probably you've all seen this public version, on which, by the way, where today's presentations will hopefully be uploaded shortly, with information for the entire spectrum of the 3D industry for professionals. And of course, our newest website we just launched for the consumer, with information linked to the AOA group and making sure that people understand the human factors involved with vision and 3D. One page that I particularly wanted to point out, helping people find their 3D comfort zone. Every 3D program is not going to be for every person. Some people like the concert experience, my personal favorite. Some people like the sport experience. They're all coming along, and consumers obviously need to know that. I think a lot of people expect 3D to be perfect for them the first time they watch it. They want that to be the experience that's going to change their mind about 3D. But if you're not a NASCAR fan and you watch NASCAR in 3D, you're not going to like that either. So maybe that's obvious to many. So I want to show how important human factors is and vision science is, that research is to the 3D at Home Consortium. We have, for 2 years, we had 4 steering teams, each looking at a different segment of the industry, providing an industry-wide view of what's going on in technology in that area. A year ago, we added ST5 on human factors. We should probably call it Steering Team A because it really impacts every single other steering team, that information. So there's, it's led by Phil Corvo and Paulette Pantoja from Blue Focus, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. But it's really a critical piece of what 3D at Home Consortium is doing, as well as in both the education side and in the standards and research side. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the 3D at Home Consortium members, thank them for their support. I think these are all companies that realize that we go farther together. And we all support the same thing. We support 3D, bringing 3D stereoscopy more into our world, into education, into entertainment. And that together we will go farther. So that's it. Thank you.